Greetings. I'm Gunn. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I'm former General Counsel of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And I'm also on the board of directors of the National Veterans Legal Services Program, NVLSP. In reviewing NVLSP's latest impact report, I was struck by one statement near the beginning of the report. It says, in an ideal world, we shouldn't need to exist. I agree with that statement. However, the reality is we don't live in an ideal world. The world in which we live is one in which NVLSP and its services are desperately needed, perhaps more so now than ever before. You know, I'm recording this message on Veterans Day, and I'm reminded of the fact that I first heard of NVLSP exactly 11 years ago today. You see, my wife Dawn and I were invited to a breakfast reception at the White House, and we sat at a table along with former NVLSP co-executive director Ron Abrams and his wife Barbara. And while we were there, Ron told me a great deal about NVLSP, and he also invited me over to the office. Well, it took a few weeks for that to happen, but I accepted his invitation and I went to the offices. There I learned more. I met his co-executive director, Bart Stichman, and several other members of the staff. I also learned about the incredible mission that NVLSP has. You know, I believe that NVLSP's mission is in direct harmony with VA's stated mission to serve and to make sure that veterans get all of the benefits that they've earned and rightfully deserve. That's why, after I left government, I was thrilled to join NVLSP's board when our board chair, Ron Flagg, and executive director, Bart Stichman, approached me. Now, our theme for this event is fighting for equity and justice. It's indeed a fitting and timely theme. As you know, our nation is in the midst of a period of racial reckoning. And while so much of the attention has been focused on abuses by police, it's also important that we look at other societal inequities and injustices, including those affecting military members and veterans. In 1948, President Truman used Executive Order 9981 to integrate the military. That was 6 years before the land-breaking decision in Brown versus Board of Education, where the Supreme Court ruled that the doctrine of separate but equal was unlawful. Since that time, tremendous progress has been made, and some have looked to the military as an exemplar of equality and merit principles. Indeed, as you all know, in 1989, General Colin Powell became chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest military position. In 2014, Admiral Michelle Howard, a Black woman, became the Navy's first ever four-star admiral, first ever female four-star admiral. And just a few months ago, General C.Q. Brown became Air Force Chief of Staff, and in doing so, became the first ever African-American Chief of Staff of any service. However, these momentous firsts don't tell the whole story. For example, racial inequities exist in the military justice system and the prevalence of unfavorable discharges. And those discharges can limit or entirely eliminate entitlement to benefits. I'd like to explain exactly how this injustice fits in. Recently released data shows huge racial inequities in the military justice system. Specifically, on average, Black Marines are 32% more likely than white Marines to be found guilty at a court-martial or non-judicial punishment proceedings than are white Marines. In the Navy, Black sailors are on average 40% more likely than white sailors to be found guilty at a court-martial or non-judicial punishment proceedings than are white sailors. In the Army, Black soldiers are on average 61% more likely to face special or general court-martial than are white soldiers. And in the Air Force, where I served, Black airmen are 71%, 71% more likely to face court-martial or non-judicial punishment than white airmen. Why do these disparities exist? Well, an easy answer perhaps is to just say systemic racism. But nearly 2 decades ago, I had the opportunity to work for the Air Force's top military lawyer, the Judge Advocate General, also referred to as TJAG. And in working for this general officer, I went around and got a chance to visit a lot of military installations. And as I traveled, the word got around that my boss was very interested in this data. So people briefed it and they launched a preemptive attack each time, or I should say a preemptive defense. And they explained, sir, we've looked at this data and we've pulled each and every one of these Article 15s, non-judicial punishment actions concerning Black airmen. And we can tell you that there is ample evidence to support each and every one of them. But my boss says something profound. He says, I'm glad to hear that you've done that. But what this data does not show is who didn't get punishment. In other words, who got the benefit of the doubt? Who got a break that never ended up in punitive action? Those decisions have consequences, profound consequences, because oftentimes non-judicial punishment is the precursor to a punitive discharge or to an unfavorable discharge. And when a person gets an unfavorable discharge, it can mean loss of job opportunities, stigma that can last a lifetime, and it can mean denial of VA healthcare and disability compensation benefits, among others. That makes a difference. That's why NVLSP and its Lawyer Serving Warriors program matters. It matters a great deal. So I just want to thank everybody who has supported NVLSP over the years. The work that you do matters. It makes a profound difference in the lives of individual veterans, and it can also make a great difference with the impact litigation and the advocacy that NVLSP is involved in. That advocacy now extends to class action lawsuits, which I'm convinced will make a profound difference for vets. You know, in closing, I'm just reminded of Dr. King's quote from a letter from a Birmingham jail, 1963, where he said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That's what NVLSP is helping to combat. One last thought. I've often been inspired by a story that I've heard told by Lauren Isley, an anthropologist and an author. And the story is of an old man who loves the beach, and he goes out for a morning walk. As I've gotten older, I found myself enjoying a morning walk of my own. And on this morning walk, this older man, he would go out and he would see, and he saw a young man off in the distance. And he couldn't make out exactly what the young man was doing, but it seemed as though he may have been exercising or perhaps doing some type of dance or maybe even martial arts. But as he got closer, he realized that what the young man was doing was that he was picking up objects and he was tossing them back into the surf. He eventually reached the young man and he asked him what he was doing. And the young man explained that there had been a storm the night before and that storm had washed up all kinds of starfish all along the beach. And he said that if I don't throw these back in, they're going to die when the sun comes up. The older man, perhaps in an attempt to display his wisdom, told the young man, look, there are starfish all along the beach. There are too many for you to possibly make a difference. Upon hearing that, the young man reached down, picked up another starfish, and tossed it into the surf. And he said, I made a difference for that one. I want to encourage all of you, keep making a difference. You may not change the world for everyone. You may not make a difference for every veteran, but you can make a difference for one. Thank you.